The thoughts which I had coming here, I think you articulate very well. So in doing what I'm going to talk now, I'm going to talk quite a lot what you talked about, and maybe also add a bit of my own personal experience. Also, thank you very much, Peter, Margaret. You're not naming it. I'm sorry, Margaret. Thank you very much for your those insights. I think where I want to start is really going back again and to make that important distinction between a startup and SME, right? And then maybe also use my own personal experience. I invest a little bit of my own personal money into a few businesses. I've done that, and I've also been quite involved in the approach of those businesses to a certain extent. And I can tell you that I've invested money into startups, a tech startup, one or two of them, and also into an SME. And I tell you, there is a distinct difference. I think the best, obviously, one of them is obviously the startup is definitely more innovative in itself, and also has an ability to scale way faster than an SME. But at the same time, it's way easier for number one an SME to make money, and also just to attract funding. I mean, for instance, one of the SMEs I'm invested into, we recently got funded through the DPNs, that Young Artisan program, because the company itself does welding and stuff. And with that money initially obviously it wasn't meant for COVID survival, but then they came COVID survival, and really through that we innovated, produced some great stuff which were right now which actually making some money off again. So we and that goes to score again. It's easy to kind of rush through that J curve and become cash flow positive. But on the other hand, the startup becoming cash flow positive is a challenge. And obviously, it's been a challenge. But those are the things. But but then again, the failure rate for startups is just way greater at any rate. But if you make it through that J curve and you are able to become cash flow positive for startups, you really succeed, and you go far. And then I also again like to speak again on the issue of financing, right? And one organization I helped set up, it wasn't initially my idea, but as I said, I invested my own personal money into startups, and then I also put together a little bit of an investment company where I got 36 of my friends and families and just a few fools to get together and decide to put money every single month. And then we pot of money we started looking for businesses to invest into. And then I came on this concept of Namibia Business Angels Network, and I helped kind of found it. And really what it is a platform for people like myself who have a little bit of spare capital to invest into businesses, as well as organizations that want to invest into businesses, create that platform for them to kind of really meet startups, and then invest into them. And then so we kind of help vet them, the startups, make sure that they to a certain extent investable, and as well as create relationship with incubators and accelerators, so our investors can actually get quality enterprises to invest into. So I think what we really need more of that in Namibia for angel investors to get together and to look for startups to get into to invest into. And also government. I mean, when I see government, I believe government is really more to support than necessarily to always to fund, let's say, startups and such. I mean, obviously they have a huge role to play in funding where possible. Like I believe the DPN, for instance, has done an amazing job in terms of funding SMEs, SMEs, and such. But unfortunately, they're not structured, to start to fund startups. Why is that? I mean, a startup needs patient capital, right? As a startup, I need money, and I'm right now, but I may only be able to start paying back if I were to get a loan in 2 years' time, right? That's why I need an equity stakeholder, a shareholder who believes in my vision and can give me money today work with me, guide me to a certain extent, open up his networks or her networks for me, so my company can really grow and become cash flow positive, and give those profits so I can pay them back. But where does government really play a part? Let's say policy, right? I think Tuna talked about the Startup Act, and I think maybe also go between the Startup Act is maybe also startup policy, right? Where you'll be able, for instance, can start giving maybe preferential procurement. Not necessarily bypassing the Procurement Act, but maybe making provision for certain procurement already, let's say tenders, when we call them that, to go to startups, right? And that will give startups that capital to actually grow, and instead of having, grinding and just the day ending up failing. Number two, tax incentives, right? One thing I've seen happen in South Africa is something called the Section 12J tax incentive, right? I think Tuna mentioned something similar, where basically organizations as well as individuals can give money towards venture capital funds, right? Who would then invest this money purely into startups, right? And then obviously the investors still become equity holders in those companies and still benefit some, and the whole point at the end of the day is those companies are successful, the government will still be successful instead of collecting tax revenue. And maybe also that lowering the tax rate at the end of the day for startups. So hopefully as they so they can use that cash flow within the business, obviously later on use as they grow, government will benefit again through increasing revenue in the economy, and also when the company is large enough, get back that income through taxation of a larger company. And and really, I think sometimes we overlook Africa, right? And when we overlook at what is going on in Silicon Valley, what's going on in Israel. Yes, they are, those are the big success stories, but we need to see that this actually has happened in Africa. Look at I think Stellenbosch, I think, is the startup capital of Africa at this point in time. I mean, we all know of the company called Naspers, right? Naspers actually is one of the largest venture capitalists on the continent, right? They have an organization in there called Foundry, and Foundry invests quite a lot of money into startups, right? And obviously, I'm sure all of us have heard of a company called Tencent, right? Right. You guys know that Naspers is one of the largest shareholders in Tencent. So many years ago, obviously Tencent is a Chinese company. Naspers invested into that company. And today, I mean, Naspers makes up quite a substantial amount of the market capitalization of the JSE, right? They even had to cap it, because it was so large, right? And yeah, so for many investors who actually, invest in the JSE. And then obviously we have Kenya. I mean, we all know about what has come out of Kenya, the investors of this world and all that type of stuff. That's what basically was a startup. Again, Nigeria, right? Nigeria is also quite big on the startup scene. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, we had a failure of Jumia, but Jumia still came out of Nigeria and did very well. And then and also in North Africa with Egypt. Egypt also has, I mean, over there, I've been in contact with some angel investors over there in Egypt because of the association with the Namibia Business Angels Network, right? And they really do good deals. I mean, they even getting funding from Silicon Valley and such. So, even in Namibia here, we know we need to celebrate our few successes. For instance, we have Lefa here with Pebble, which are doing really well. So, and I guess in conclusion, I would like to say, startups, yes, they need a lot of support. But if they're given that support, they can really drive innovation in this country. Yeah, thank you.